You are 28 years old. You are an assistant professor of computer science at a university in Southern California. The year is 1969. Your annual salary is $9,400. You drive a rusted Plymouth that stalls when it rains, and you rent a one-bedroom apartment that smells like old carpets and boiled cabbage. Your office is a windowless room in the basement of the engineering building. It is filled with machines the size of refrigerators. They generate so much heat that you keep a noisy industrial fan running in the corner just to stop the vacuum tubes from melting. To the rest of the world, you are a nobody, just another academic drowning in chalk dust and obscure mathematics. But in this basement, you are trying to solve a problem that will fundamentally alter the trajectory of the human race. You are trying to make two machines talk to each other across a vast distance. You do not understand the gravity of what you are doing. You are not trying to build a global nervous system. You are not trying to change society. You just want to solve the math. You want to send a packet of data from your basement in Los Angeles to a server 300 miles away in Stanford. To do this, you need funding. The only people who have that kind of money do not care about academic curiosity. They care about the Cold War. You take a grant from the Department of Defense, Advanced Research Projects Agency. They hand your department a budget of $1 million. They don't want a tool for sharing poetry or research papers. They want a decentralized communication grid that can survive a preemptive nuclear strike from the Soviet Union. If Los Angeles is vaporized, they want the military computers in Washington to still be able to talk to the missile silos in the Dakotas. You take the military's money to fund your academic dream. That is your first compromise. You tell yourself that the source of the money doesn't matter, only the science matters. That is the first lie. It is a lie you will repeat to yourself for the next 50 years. October 29th, 10:30 at night. The basement is freezing. You sit at a teletype terminal. Your colleague is on a telephone line talking to a researcher at Stanford. You type the letter L. The machine at Stanford receives the L. You type the letter O. The machine receives the O. You type the letter G. The entire system crashes. A massive memory overflow. The connection is severed. You spend the next hour rewriting the code, resetting the hardware, and tracing the failure. You don't feel like a pioneer. You feel like a plumber fixing a leaky pipe. At midnight, you try again. Les, OGUIOGIN. The entire word transmits. The connection holds. You log in to the remote server. There is no applause. There are no journalists. You pack up your briefcase, walk out to the empty campus parking lot, and drive home in the dark. You drink a glass of tap water and go to sleep. You have absolutely no idea that you just struck the match that will eventually burn down the old world. The growth of the network is slow. It is not an explosion. It is a methodical, quiet expansion. For the first decade, the network is a closed club. 4 nodes, then 15, then 15. It is inhabited exclusively by academics, engineers, and military contractors. You know the names of almost everyone who has access. It feels like a brotherhood. You write the protocols that dictate how information moves. Transmission control protocol, internet protocol. You are building the highways, laying down the digital asphalt. The rules you write are built on absolute trust. The system assumes that anyone connected to it is a verified, trustworthy peer. You do not build security protocols. You do not build encrypted walls. Why would you put a lock on a door when everyone in the building is a trusted scientist? That assumption of human decency will become the most devastating architectural flaw in the history of engineering. The transition begins in the 1980s. The military formally splits their network off. The civilian side is handed over to the National Science Foundation. The infrastructure is expanding beyond universities. Personal computers are becoming cheaper. People are buying machines for their homes. The network is no longer a private laboratory. It is becoming a public street. You start seeing people you don't know on the digital boards. You start seeing arguments. Human nature is beginning to bleed into the clean, sterile mathematics of your creation. In 1988, a graduate student writes a piece of code designed to measure the size of the network. A small error in his code causes it to replicate uncontrollably. It infects 10% of the computers on the network, slowing them to a halt. It is the first internet worm, the first piece of malware. You spend 3 days without sleep, working with a team to patch the vulnerability and clean the servers. You realize for the first time that the network you built is a living organism. And like any living organism, it can be infected, it can be weaponized, but you still believe in the greater good. You still believe that connecting people will inherently make the world a more educated, empathetic place. Then the 1990s arrive, and the illusion of the academic utopia shatters completely. The World Wide Web is invented. Visual browsers are released. The network is no longer just green text on a black screen. It is pages, images, and interfaces that anyone can use. The government lifts the ban on commercial activity on the network. The doors are kicked wide open. Wall Street realizes what you have built. The corporations descend like locusts. You are still working at a university making $60,000 a year. You watch young men in their 20s, kids who don't even understand the foundational code you wrote, take your infrastructure, build a basic interface on top of it, and take their companies public for hundreds of millions of dollars. You don't care about the money, you care about the real estate. The network was supposed to be a global library, a repository of all human knowledge accessible to anyone, anywhere. But the corporations do not see a library. They see a billboard. They see a marketplace. In 1994, the first banner advertisement appears on a website. It is an ad for a telecommunications company. It is a small, ugly rectangle of pixels. To the average user, it is an annoyance. To you, it is the exact moment the soul of the network is sold. That small rectangle introduces the concept of the click. The click is a metric. The click can be tracked, measured, and monetized. The architecture of your network fundamentally shifts. It is no longer designed to efficiently route information. It is now being optimized to capture and route human attention. You start getting invited to corporate boardrooms. Tech executives in Silicon Valley want to shake your hand. They call you a visionary. They call you the father of the modern world. They offer you consulting positions that pay $500,000 a year just to sit on an advisory board. You accept. You buy a large house in the hills. You buy a German luxury car. Your family is secure. Your grandchildren will never have to worry about tuition. You tell yourself that you are just reaping the rewards of your hard work. You tell yourself that the commercialization of the network was inevitable, but deep down you know the truth. You are a mechanic who built a beautiful engine, and you are taking payouts from the men who are using that engine to power a war machine. The acceleration in the 2000s is terrifying. Broadband replaces dial-up. The data flows stop being a trickle and become a flood. Then the smartphone is invented. Your network is no longer confined to a desk in a spare room. It is in the pocket of every human being on the planet. It goes with them to the bathroom. It sits on their nightstand while they sleep. It is the last thing they look at before they close their eyes and the first thing they check when they wake up. The math of the underworld changes. The new digital cartels do not traffic in narcotics or weapons. They traffic in behavioral surplus. They build social media platforms that run on algorithms designed by neuroscientists and behavioral psychologists. These algorithms are programmed with a single, ruthless objective: keep the user looking at the screen for as many seconds as possible. The algorithms learn that outrage holds human attention longer than joy. They learn that anger is more profitable than empathy. They begin to intentionally feed users content that terrifies them, enrages them, and isolates them from their neighbors. You understand exactly how the code works. You see the feedback loops. You know that the platforms are running real-time psychological experiments on 3 billion people simultaneously. You watch the suicide rates among teenage girls skyrocket. You watch political polarization tear countries apart. You watch democratic elections manipulated by foreign intelligence agencies using fake accounts to inject propaganda directly into the bloodstreams of millions of voters. All of it is running on the protocols you wrote. All of it is flowing through the digital highways you paved. You are technically clean. You didn't write the social media algorithms. You didn't create the targeted advertising. But you are the men who poured the foundation for the slaughterhouse. You go to a tech conference in San Francisco. You are the keynote speaker. 3,000 developers and engineers give you a standing ovation. A young Keo approaches you at the cocktail reception. He is a billionaire at 28. His company mines user data to predict purchasing behavior. He shakes your hand and tells you that none of his success would be possible without your foundational work. He means it as a compliment. It feels like a knife in your ribs. You excuse yourself, go to the bathroom of the luxury hotel, and splash cold water on your face. You look in the mirror. You see an old man in an expensive suit. You realize the brutal, inescapable truth of your legacy. You didn't connect humanity. You built the most efficient mechanism for human exploitation in the history of the species. The descent continues into the 2010s. The dark web emerges, the hidden layers of your network where the search engines cannot reach. Because you designed the system to be open and decentralized, it cannot be policed. It is the perfect criminal infrastructure. You read a classified federal report leaked to the press. It details a marketplace on the dark web where users buy untraceable fentanyl using cryptocurrency. The drugs are shipped through the postal service. Thousands of people are dying. You read about encrypted chat rooms where human traffickers sell undocumented immigrants. You read about live-streamed rooms where people paid digital currency to watch children be abused in real time on the other side of the planet. It is all running perfectly on your protocols. The cartel bosses in Mexico no longer need to rely entirely on mules and secret airstrips. They manage multi-billion-dollar logistics empires using encrypted messaging apps that bounce signals off satellites and route them through servers in Switzerland. You gave the worst predators on Earth an invisible, impenetrable fortress. And the system functions exactly as it was designed to function. Your defense mechanism is detachment. You stop reading the news. You stop attending the conferences. You retire to your massive estate. You spend your days tending to a garden, getting your hands dirty with actual physical earth. You try to forget the glowing screens, but the world you built is inescapable. The digital layer has completely suffocated the physical one. You cannot go to a bank, buy groceries, or drive a car without interacting with the network. You are 80 years old. You go to a high-end restaurant to celebrate your anniversary with your wife. The restaurant is beautiful. Low lighting, expensive wine, soft jazz playing in the background. You look at the table next to you. A family of 4. A father, a mother, and 2 teenage children. They have been sitting there for 40 minutes. They have not spoken a single word to each other. All 4 of them are staring down at their smartphones. The pale blue light illuminates their faces in the dim room. They are physically sitting feet away from the people they love most in the world, but their minds are thousands of miles away, trapped inside algorithmic loops designed to harvest their attention and sell it to the highest bidder. You stare at them, and the reality of your life's work crushes you like a physical weight. You spent 50 years in unimaginable brilliance trying to eliminate the distance between people. You wanted to ensure that no one ever had to be isolated or cut off from the sum of human knowledge. But you didn't eliminate the distance. You just digitized it. The network didn't cure human loneliness. It weaponized it. The corporations figured out that a lonely, anxious, isolated person consumes more digital content than a happy, connected one. So they optimized the machine to manufacture isolation. Every user is sitting in a custom-built psychological supermax prison, endlessly scrolling through a feed of perfectly tailored stimulation, completely detached from the physical world. You look at your own hands resting on the white tablecloth. They are trembling slightly. Age and regret. You realize the darkest, most terrifying truth of the inventor. You are celebrated as a genius. Your name is in the history books. You will die wealthy and respected, but you are the architect of a global cage. You gave humanity the tools to become gods, and they used them to become prisoners. You beat the system of academic obscurity. You won the race. But the ultimate punishment for building the modern world is that you have to live the rest of your life watching the human race slowly drown in the ocean you filled. You can turn off your own screen. You can throw your phone into the ocean. But you can never unplug the machine you started. It will outlive you. It will outlive your children. The engine will keep running, harvesting human souls for fractions of a penny forever. That's a wrap for today. The story you just heard is fiction, but the architecture of the internet, the corporate exploitation of human attention, and the digital isolation of modern society are entirely real. Right now, somewhere in a restaurant, a family is sitting in complete silence, staring at glowing screens. If this one made you think, drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. Subscribe for more deep dives. See you in the next one.